Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Global Wind Energy Council, RWE and Wind Europe, we'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's session on Latin America. I would like to hand over to my colleague, the Director of Latin America, Mr. Ramon Fiestas. Ramon?
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. Now, it's a pleasure to be here. Many thanks to RWE for this invitation, for arranging this theater, and for remembering as well Latin America as one of the largest markets of wind power in the world. We have today here three very accurate representatives of not only the renewable energy sector, but as well from the energy sector of Latin America. We have with us Alfonso Blanco. I'm delighted to present him here. We are very grateful that he has arrived 15 minutes ago from Ecuador, so his face is showing 18 hours of plane. But he wanted to be here to share with us some sound experience of what is happening in the Latin America region in terms of energy shift in the latest years and I would say in the latest months in Latin America. As well, Bart Doyle. Bart is the COO of Mainstream Renewables. Bart is really has a sound knowledge about the Chilean market. He worked for a number of years in developing wind power in Chile, and I'm sure he is going to introduce us in some findings of the Chilean renewable energy market, as well in some other new markets that are arising in Latin America, as is the Colombian one. And we have Elvia Ganum. She is not present here, but she is going to connect virtually. Elvia is the president of the Brazilian Wind Power Association, Abeólica, and she is representing the largest wind power market in Latin America. I'm not sure if I have here the... Can you put the slide, Alex? Well, just a few words to show what is happening in wind energy in Latin America in 2021. Thank you. This is the record year for wind power in Latin America ever, with close to 6 gigawatts of installed capacity in the year. But the fact is that 60%, more than 60%, close to 70% of this is the Brazilian market. So Brazil has done a huge step this year, growing from close to 2 gigawatts to fast 4 gigawatts this year, installed in a row. This is something astonishing for the market. We didn't believe that the supply chain could deliver close to 4 gigawatts in the year in Brazil, but they could. There is a very sound supply chain, very healthy market over there, and the figures are absolutely clear, not only for the installed capacity of this year, but as well for the accumulated installed capacity, in which Brazil is half of the wind power market in Latin America, with close to 40 gigawatts of installed capacity at the end of 2021. I would mention as well Chile and Argentina, especially Chile, as a healthy market with an 11% of the share of this year, but Chile will grow in the next year. We will hear that from Bart. And I will mention as well Argentina and Mexico, because both markets are somehow the most concerning markets at that stage in Latin America. Both are facing different I would say, political realities with severe difficulties in the case of Mexico for renewable energy deployment, especially from the private sector investments. And in the Argentinian situation is probably much more related to the macroeconomic situation of the country and a lack of visibility for renewable energies in the future that I'm completely sure we will overcome in the next years. Because of the vast capacity of the Argentinian market in terms of wind power resource, and as well now supply chain existing in the market. So this is my short introduction. I will leave the conversation for Alfonso. I'm sure Alfonso is going to drive us not only through the renewable energy sector, but as well through the power sector, something very relevant in Latin America. We are not so developed as in Europe in terms of policies. And well, I leave it to Alfonso. Alfonso, please.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Ramon. I thank you to SHIWEC and RWE for the invitation. I came, as Ramon said, from Ecuador today, and 18 hours flight is where I am a little tired. But let's talk about the energy sector in the Latin American region. I will talk about what is OLADE. OLADE is the Latin American Energy Organization. It's an organization that was formed, created in 1973, and is represented by 27 countries in the region by the energy ministers of each country. It's a unique organization that is very focused in the energy sector. And in OLADE we have all the official energy balances of the region. It's like a small international energy agency for the Latin American region. And I always start with this kind of information, and this is the Sankey diagram for the Latin American region. And I want to say that the Latin American region is the most renewable region around the world. We have around 30% of the primary energy in the energy sector from renewables, and we have 60% of the installed capacity for electricity production from renewables in the Latin American region. That is not part of the increase of solar and wind during the last year. That is part of the DNA of the energy sector of the Latin American region. We have a high penetration, a high percentage of hydropower in our system, and we have additionally a high penetration of biomass in the energy sector. Not only biomass for cooking and the use of biomass for biofuels in the region is higher in comparison with the rest of the world. If you compare the Latin American region with the rest of the world, we have 30% of renewables, and the rest of the world has 13%, and that is an important issue in our region regarding the energy sector. And what is the primary offer in the region? And what are the characteristics of the energy offer in the Latin American region? We have less participation of coal in the primary energy offer, and that is a characteristic of our energy sector. Additionally, we have an important participation of hydropower, as I said, and that is the situation. But Ramon presented the figures for 2021. Our energy balances has official figures for 2020, and we have to say that during 2020 we installed more than 11 gigawatts in renewable energies. These 11 gigawatts 31 are wind energy in the installed capacity during 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. We installed additionally 5 gigawatts from fossil fuels in the power generation, but we take out of the system 23 gigawatts from fossil fuels during 2020, and that was a very important advance in the decarbonization of the power production in the Latin American region. Now we have 457 gigawatts installed, and from renewables, the amount of renewables installed in the region is 273 gigawatts. And what was the advance in the percentage of renewables in the power generation in the installed capacity in the region? During 2019, we had 58% of renewables installed in the region, and in 2020 we jumped up to 61% of the power generation of electricity in the region. And that is part of our goal in the RELAC initiative, and that has 15 countries in the region that signed the RELAC initiative, and the goal is to have in 2030 the 70% of the installed capacity from renewables in the region. And that is an important and ambitious goal for and target for the region in order to increase the power generation from renewables in the region. But why we are talking about renewables in the Latin American region? Because we have, as Ramon said, high potential for power generation from renewables in the Latin American region, from solar and from wind, and that is an important resources that our region has, not only for power generation. The region has some strategies in order to increase the actions in hydrogen production with low cost of production of hydrogen in the Latin American region. Some countries in the region are moving forward in these actions in hydrogen production from power generation from wind, with very good capacity factors for the wind power generation, and very good efficiency for solar production in some parts of the continent, and that is very good conditions for the renewables in the region. And additionally, why our region has countries with more of 90% of penetration of renewables in the electricity production? Because the hydro is part of the complementarity between the wind power and the installed hydro production in the region. We have countries that using the hydro like as a storage of the system can introduce more than 90% of the power generation in the system. That is example of Uruguay. That is example of some countries like Costa Rica, and countries that has very high participation of hydro in the system, and the use of wind power and hydro are very complementary in the system in order to increase the participation of renewables in the power production, and that is part of the experience of the Latin American region regarding the renewables. Additionally, we have very high potentials for solar power. Last year, we presented the bidding process and the auctions for renewables in the region. The region has an important experience regarding auctions for renewables with very good conditions for the implementation of PPAs contract, and with very good prices for the renewable energy production in the region. And what is the advance of the installed capacity in solar and wind? We can see that now in 2020 we had more than 20 gigawatts from solar and more than 32 gigawatts in 2020 from wind. Ramon presented the advance during 2021, and the market is developing a very good rate. And the advances in the region regarding CO2 emissions are in a good condition, and with the higher penetration of renewables in the system, and better energy efficiency in some end use of energy, we can see that now the Latin American region are the 4.65% of the total emissions around the world, and that is the evolution of our CO2 emissions in the region. But what are the future of the energy sector? And Olade has some prospective models, some forecasts for the energy sector, and we have different scenarios for the advance and the evolution of the energy sector. In the business as usual scenario, with the actual policies of the energy sector and the actions that are in implementation for the countries in the region, we are not complying with the Paris Agreement, goals, and for that reason, the region has to improve the regulations, has to improve the actions in order to increase the participation of renewables and obtain the target of the RELAC initiative and the target of net zero in the region, and that is the advance that we are following in the region, and what is the need of introduction of renewable energies in the near future and in the long term, in order to obtain the target for Paris Agreement actions and net zero for some countries. Here we have all the advances. The increase of the renewable in 2030 in order to have the goals of the RELAC initiative, they have to be the 71% in 2030 and 86% in 2050. If you want to have in the region a net zero scenario with the horizon of 2050, and that advance in the region is very ambitious, and we will have an important needs for incorporation of wind energy and solar, not only for a net zero scenario for the Latin American region, with the target of the RELAX initiative. And this is a summary of the two scenarios and what we will need in the future for the incorporation of renewables in the Latin American region. In order to have the RELAC target, we need 85 gigawatts from wind and solar. Additionally, for the business as usual scenario, that will need around 100 thousand millions dollars in less than 10 years for the region, and with the RELAC initiative, 70% of installed capacity from renewables in the Latin American region in 2030. If we are thinking in a net zero scenario, we will need up to 2050, 175 gigawatts from wind and solar, and the investment in the region will increase up to $205,000 million for the region in the period. And that is an important increase of the investment in a situation of the region with difficulties to access to investment, difficulties to access to financement, and that is an important role of the government in order to leverage the existing barriers. It's very easy in the region to make business in some countries that has, for example, investment grade and are easy to structure finances for the renewables, but there are other markets that is very difficult. It's very difficult to leverage the existing barriers, and we need to modern regulatory frameworks. We have to work in better business conditions. We have to we need better institutions and to work in the region, leveraging all the existing barriers in the markets that are not moving at the velocity that we need. Ramon mentioned the situation of Brazil and the evolution of Brazil, but there are other markets that are that we need to move in the region in order to obtain the regional target of 70% in less than 10 years. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. And if you have any comments or additional information, I will be available in OLADE. All my contacts, Ramon and in SIGWEC has. And thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfonso, for your effort and for your very, very sound explanation of the market. So I have a figure in my mind, and this is that we need to install 150,000 megawatts to achieve the RELAC target in 2030. So this is 70% of renewable energies in Latin America. 150 megawatts means that we need to double the installation of year by year, the record year of this one. So we need to find out the way to do that, and I'm sure that we can do this together with OLADE and with the energy institutions of the region. So I will hand over to Elvia. Elvia will explain us how she could manage to become Brazil as a rising star in Latin America's wind energy market. Please, Elvia, go ahead.
Thanks, Ramon, for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here. Hello, everybody. I'm talking from Oslo. I'm here in North Ship Conference too, and is discussing about the future about wind in Brazil, mainly about offshore wind. So I'd like to start with the numbers that Ramon had mentioned. The GWEC report that we launched in this week, and then we're so happy because they are a record of installation. This record of installation in Latin America, and Brazil got the record of the record, because in January we increased 2 gigawatts per year, 2.5 gigawatts per year. But in the last year, we increased 3.8 gigawatts. And this installed capacity give us a very good signs about the future that we noticed these changes in mainly in 2018 when we started to sell electricity from onshore wind in free market. Usually we contract in ocean in regulated market, but since 2018, the free market started to increase a lot, so fast. And your average contract since 2018 is about 4 gigawatts. Then in the next year, we expect to improve more capacity. For this year, in 2022, we intend to install more than 5 gigawatts. This resulted from contracts from free market, mainly from free market. Nowadays, since 2018, we have been contracted more than 70% in free market. For these years, this market is increasing so fast in the last year, then we expect that we will increase in the next 5 and 10 years. The regulatory model in Brazil has been changing, and the regulatory framework has put in more open market, and in the free market. For this reason, our contractor are migration for free market. So this number it's about onshore. Nowadays, when we're talking about our metrics is very, very renewable. 83% is from renewable plants. The first one is hydro plants, about 65% is from hydro plants, and the wind onshore is the second source in metrics today. Is about 21.6 gigawatts. It means 12% of your metrics. We have a big potential when you think about the projects in the future. Our onshore potential is around 700 gigawatts for onshore. And recently we started to discuss it and to look for potential for offshore. Our potential for offshore is about 1 terawatt installed capacity, and we are prepared our market for this. Recently, the government launched a decree, federal decree, that it treated regulatory framework. And now we have a task force to prepare the regulation in this decree. And here in Norway, in Oslo, I was with Secretary of Climate in Brazil for MEMA, it's Environment Minister. And he just said that Brazil will prepare for this year yet, for 2022, the first public offer for concession areas for offshore. It is really a good news. We have been working in the last 2 years, working hard in order to prepare our market. It looks be a very good news for our market. Recently, we have received a lot of investors like Equinor, Shell, oil gas companies that started to invest in offshore wind. And the traditional companies that are members in Abeólica, they are prepared to invest in offshore. Then, when you see for the next 10 years, discussing mainly about your objective to increase more wind in the system in order to achieve the net zero goals, Brazil has a big potential to help this. Of course, we have a limited of our market, or limited, it's not about supply, it's about demand. Our market doesn't increase so fast as we would like, as we are prepared to invest, but we expect that the GDP is started to increase again after pandemic crisis. Then we expect to have more investment in the future. For here, we have a very good perspective, as I said, because we have a lot of contract, a lot of projects under construction when you talk about onshore. And when you talk about offshore, we are prepared our market to receive investors. We have a good perspective at Abeólica when you talk about wind and new technology like storage, like hydrogen, the green hydrogen. We are working in order to improve the market for other technologies in Brazil. Abeólica has been working with this and has this objective. Then that have these goals and for the end of this decade, then I believe that you will have a big market for renewables like solar, like wind onshore, wind offshore, and a very good perspective for the future. Then in Latam, Brazil is a big country, has a big potential, but Latam is a very good market and very attractive. And I believe that we will increase a lot and help the world to increase more renewable in order to achieve the net zero goals. Then I think it's I believe that I put the mailing point is here, and we are so happy because now Brazil is again a new position in the global market. Brazil today is the 60th install capacity in the world, and it's a very good mark for us because we start with the onshore project about 10 years ago, and we are very good position now, and we are so happy for this. Thank you, Ramon. I'm so sorry that I'm not there, but I'm here working in order to improve your market, to improve wins. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Elvia, and especially for the news that you bring, announcing the first offshore auction here in Bilbao for Brazil in the year 2020. You say 22, so this is this year, not the next year.
This year.
Okay. So we are really happy to hear that and to see that our efforts are somehow shining now and coming out of the water into the air. Okay, let's go ahead with Chile and Bart Doyle. Bart, please introduce us to the market in Chile and Colombia.
Can you hear me at the back? Is it working? Oh, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Bart Doyle. I'm the Group COO of Mainstream Renewable Power. We are a developer, constructor, operator of wind and PV onshore and also of offshore wind. So in Latam, our core market continues to be Chile, where we've been since 2008. And we recently completed the sale of our first platform there, which was Ayala, with our partners Actis, 330 megawatts of wind to Canadian renewable asset manager Innergex. We're currently 80% through the construction of our 1.3 gigawatt Andes Renovables platform, which is 6 wind and 4 PV. 4 of these projects have achieved COD and 2 more have just started to export power. We own 100% of these assets and plan to own and operate them ourselves. So in terms of the market generally, I tried to pick 3 or 4 positives for Chile and 3 or 4 risks or concerns. So a bit like we've seen from Elvia in Brazil, we see very strong growth in the private PPA market in Chile from really 3 or 4 years ago now to a position where the private market, certainly for renewables, is bigger than the public market. We also see more realistic pricing on the private side than the last 2 public or disco tenders. There's a very strong demand for quality wind projects in Chile to balance the large amount of PV added in the north of the country over the last 5 to 7 years. So developers who have wind projects ready to go are seeing a huge demand for those projects and to bring them to financial close. And likewise, there's a demand on the private PPA side for that power that can produce outside of daytime solar hours. We've had a strategy to build wind and PV projects geographically separate to produce a 24/7 curve, and we've done that very successfully. And we'll be introducing batteries into future portfolios to, again, offer a fixed power offering. We have a new government in Chile, which started 2 weeks ago, or took their seats 2 weeks ago after an election last November. And despite some of the concerns, we've actually seen very strong support from the new government, and particularly the two key ministers for our sector, which are Energy and Economia. Very good appointments, and also very supportive and looking to continue the market-friendly, renewable-friendly policies of the last two governments. So they're only just starting, but I think it's a positive start. On the negative side, grid constraints in the south of the country, so from Santiago down to Puerto Montt, Puerto Varas, are a major issue now, and I suppose are getting worse. So we see that pricing in the southern nodes becomes decoupled from the centre, from Santiago, on a regular basis now, with very high spot prices in the south of the country. If you're an existing generator down there who's not contracted, that's probably a good thing. But if you've got a PPA in Santiago and you're buying power on the spot market, it's an extremely bad thing. So it's really the volatility of the spot market is a concern in the south. And likewise in the north, we see prices drop very low in the middle of the day because there's too much PV, and they can't get their power out to Santiago. So grid is a major issue north and south, and will only really be mitigated by large capital investments in the grid system. We also see in the short term that dynamic line rating, where you measure the temperature of the line really on a continual basis and then adjust the capacity of the line. That's a new concept for Chile, but it's been successfully deployed in many other countries. That could help in the short term. And then batteries to help shift the load and shift the capacity will also help with the grid in the meantime. We've seen significant supply chain and logistics issues during COVID, and really 2020 was about the impact of closed factories, the impacts of shutdowns in Chile, but over the last year the impact has been post-COVID. Shortages in commodities, significant price increases in fuel, cement, steel that are impacting the BOP side, and also on the OEM's ability to deliver a price as well. So continue to see supply chain logistics issues. And then on the price side, the disco prices in the last two tenders, lowest price was 12-13 for PV, 22-23 for wind. Really don't see those prices as realistic in terms of incentivizing new wind and solar. So the private market is delivering more realistic prices. Finally, the Chileans vote in September on a new constitution for the country, and that's being developed by a constitutional convention. That'll likely chart a new course for Chile in key areas: education, health, social security, taxation, and labour. Unlikely to be strong positions either way for renewables or power. So again, we continue to see strong support in the market for renewables. So the other market that we're focused on is Colombia, where we've been for 4 years. We had a breakthrough in the last 2 or 3 months, where we won a private PPA tender and signed that PPA last year, which is our first PPA in Colombia. So that's a 100 megawatt PVA with a private entity there, a distribution company. So again, we see the private market starting to be a key part of growth in Colombia. There was a disco tender early this year, and apparently there will be another public distribution tender later this year. So in Colombia, we see the private and public market growing, which is very positive. We have a national presidential election coming in May. But again, we see the incumbents have been very strongly supportive of renewables, and the leading contender coming from the left is also now very supportive of renewables, which fits his sustainability agenda. He's also committed to stopping all new oil and gas exploration in Colombia, which would be a fairly strong position for him to take. But again, all of that pushes towards more renewables. Similar to Chile, we see grid as a key constraint in Colombia, probably even a bigger constraint than it is in Chile. You have a massive source of extremely good wind in the north in La Guajira, where grid has been built, but it's only about 1 gigawatt of capacity. And again, we need to see massive installation and massive capex investment in the grid system in Colombia in order to get, for example, the wind out of that area. So on the political side, yeah, as I said, the main leader in the polls now, Petro, is very supportive of renewables and is potentially going to hold back oil and gas. We continue to see market and regulation develop and I suppose mature in the country. And for example, much higher bid bonds are required now to book your capacity on the grid, which basically means use it or lose it, and you're going to have to pay up. That's an extremely positive step from our point of view, in that we can't see incumbents tying up grid for long periods of time. You have to use it or you lose your grid bond. So they're my observations on Chilean grid, and I can see the clock coming up against us now, 15:15 as well. So I'll hand back to you for questions or comments from the audience, Ramon.
Thank you so much, Bart. I think we will take advantage in the very last minute we have from Alfonso, and I will endorse him a question related to competitiveness of renewable energies in Latin America. What do you think about pricing, renewable energy pricing in the Latin American countries? What can you tell us about that?
Okay. The experience that we have in the region is that all the renewables have been introduced in the system under a market condition in most of the markets in the region, and that is a very long-term sustainability for the renewables as an option for the energy matrix of the region, because the renewables are not an increment of the prices in the system. In most of the markets, the introduction of renewable is the better option under an economical point of view. I'm from Uruguay. When we developed the system, we started with the supply. The cost of to supply the demand in the system was around $1,200 million per year. With the renewables, we reduced up to $400 million dollars per year the cost of supply the demand with the electricity system. The renewables are a better option under the economical point of view for the region. And additionally, we have the opportunity of the integration in order to give the support that is the necessity of support from the interconnections that are existing in the region, using the complementarity of the different renewables in the region, and that is a very good option for the future, having more dynamic markets, having better interconnections between countries, but we need more robust grid systems in some countries in order to introduce more renewables in the market.
Okay. Many thanks. So the conclusion is that there is a sound policy agenda in Latin America for renewable energies, and what we need now is to invest much more in grid infrastructure and in regional integration in order to achieve the goals of climate change and the Paris Agreement. Yes. So, and we don't have time. So we need to rush. And we have the support of the governments, I believe.
Yeah, but we have some changes in government. That is a very in every change we have to work again.
Start again.
Yeah,
start again.
And that is part of the reality of the region.
Could I make a comment a comment on pricing as well, if you can hear me? I think we need to stop talking about price. I think our industry, particularly wind, has delivered on price. New gas, new hydro, even new coal, if you could do it, needs $80, $90, let's say, to pay. New wind prices in Latin America are between 20 and 30, and I don't think our partners in the OEMs can deliver wind projects for that price. And I don't think they can add capacity, and I don't think they can make a reasonable return. So I think we need to be talking about a fair price, so say 40 to 50, where we can deliver at scale. And unless we can get to a point where there's a fair price, I don't think the OEMs are able to deliver, and developers like ourselves can deliver as well. So we've come through on price, but some of those lower prices we're seeing, they're not sustainable. Yeah.
Pricing prices.
And also, when the price we bring to the table at say 40 to 50, that's a price that stays at that price. It's not volatile.
Sure.
So would you prefer a price at 40 that's consistent and is always going to be delivered, or you keep getting auction price at 20 to 30 that may not be delivered? And I see Brazil, after hitting a low, has come back up. Prices are building back up again.
Stabilizing. Sure. Okay, so many thanks for your words and for your attention. Many thanks.
Thank you, man.